Hello everyone and welcome to episode 6 of my Orc Shaman level 1 through 60 playthrough in the Season of Discovery, where we are currently in Thunderbluff, and in this episode there are basically two big themes that I want to explore in the world of Azeroth and in the world of playing as a shaman character. So let's go ahead and come over towards the mailbox really quickly and see what money we have made, where we have a Smoky Wood Pasture sampler here, which we got from completing the quest at the end of last episode, where I think if we open this we will get a few different pieces of food, which I cannot eat that level 40 food, level 25 food eventually, and then some other fun stuff, where I think I'm going to go ahead and I'll hold on to the candy cane here and put the holiday cheese wheel there, and then the minced fruit cake in here, I suppose. Then we have sold quite a few items and also got one item back from the auction house that didn't successfully sell. I'll try again there. And now let's go ahead and pick up a quest, because the two main themes that I want to explore in this episode is one related to completing the water totem quest as an Orc Shaman, where when we were like level 4 we unlocked our earth totem, and then at level 10 we unlocked our fire totem, but it was more like level 12, but we could have done it at level 10. And then at level 20, where we're now level 22, we have unlocked the ability to get the water totem. And this is a very infamous quest, which again is one of those things that I don't have too many issues with doing this quest, but is definitely going to lead to an episode where we are going to cut around a lot, because there are a lot of different places that we need to go to, and it is not in here, it is above us, where one of the places that we need to go to, or technically one of the areas of the world that we're going to be going to multiple times, is Lordaeron, with the Undercity and the home of the Forsaken, which is a location that I have not been to yet on this Let's Play character, and I didn't really go there on my human mage either, and it's not going to be something that we explore in depth on this character. That's going to be for a future thing, but we are still going to kind of like touch on some stuff and explore the area a little bit, where I have 3 quests, 2 which are level 15 quests, and I decided to not do them at like level 15 and to just hold them here so I can kind of do everything in one episode. But basically we're going to be exploring 3 brand new zones. Let's go ahead and pick up this Call of Water quest, which I think is like a 13 quest long quest chain, where the first one is going to have us going over here towards the Barrens, where I actually have the next step in my Barrens hunting quest to come over here, but we can turn that in, but we're not going to be doing it until like level 27 in the next level band. But we can go ahead and begin the Call of Water, which is basically going to have us going all around the world to mess around with different things related to water, and we can go ahead and try to like help the elements out a little bit and channel the elements ourselves through a water totem, where I have this one right here, poison cleansing totem, that just cleanses poisons from party members every 5 seconds, which is nice, but we can't use it yet because we don't have the water totem. So let's go ahead and come to the top of the central tower here, where I have the buff from people completing Blackfallen Deeps and killing the final boss and turning the, like, I think it's like a pearl in, and basically everyone in Thunderbluff or one of the Alliance cities, I think it's Ironforge, everyone in that city will get this buff whenever someone gets it, but it has a plus 20% movement speed, which is very nice. But let's go ahead, fly to Ratchet, and run to where we need to go. So here we have a small tauren camp, and I kind of just want to point out that we can kind of see where we have to go for the fire totem quest over that way, and then the earth totem quest over that way, and then we have the water totem quest, which is right here, and they're all like kind of in the same general part of the world, where we have the fire totem quest here, and then the earth totem quest like right here, and now the water one. So let's go ahead and come into this camp here, where we can actually see a special place that warriors go to, which is really fun. But let's go ahead and turn in this quest to Maverick Skyseer right here, which I believe is going to lead us to fighting an underwater thresher, I believe. That is down the coast here, but that is for way later. But let's go ahead, talk to Iceland Waterseer, and we can begin a Call of Water. So first we need to find Brian or Breen in Southern Barrens. So her home is continually, that's, wow, this quest text. So I'll just accept that, and then let's go ahead and come over here, where we can see we have to come down here. for the Call of Water quest, and there is some other stuff that we can do down here, but I think I'm only going to focus on the Call of Water, and we can return down there in the future, probably when we're like level 24, and those quests will help us finish up our leveling to the level 25 level cap that is the current level cap here in the Season of Discovery. Where I guess since I have room in my quest log right now, I can go ahead and pick up these 2 quests, and then I can just remove them if I need space in the future. But since we are down there, in case we happen to like fight something that would give us one of these items, we can go ahead and get one of those items, and that will help us along the way. But my primary goal is to run down here now and to go talk to this tauren. Making these runs is definitely nice now that we are at level 20 shaman, because we have our ghost wolf form, because running around here and like getting to all these different places would definitely be a little bit more miserable just because of how slow we would be without ghost wolf form. So it's kind of like I guess that's good game design in a sense, where they have this huge rural trekking quest where you have to go all around the world, and you get it at the same time that you get ghost wolf form. So it really provides you like a good opportunity to test out that new skill more than you already would be, I guess, because there's still just a lot of like rural trekking in general when it comes to classic WoW. But here is this tauren's house, so let's go ahead and have oh, it's an orc. I don't know why I thought it was a tauren. Let's go ahead and chat with her, and then we can fill the empty brown water skin at the watering hole below Bryn's hut and return it to her in the Barrens, where I think it is this watering hole right here, which has a Hecofang stalker right outside of it. So let's go ahead and deal with this hyena, and then we can go ahead and grab this water. Where a lot of the mobs around here are pretty high levels, so we have to be a little bit careful since we are level 22, and this is like a level 20 quest, but there's like, you know, this level 23 like a greater thunderhawk right there, and then a bunch of the Hecofang hyenas around here, which of course we have fought some hyenas in this Let's Play series already, I think earlier in the Barrens, and these are higher level ones, just like how we've kind of fought some Kodo and like some different Stormhides earlier in like Durotar in the earlier parts of the Barrens, and now there are higher level ones that have like more intimidating names, and I am getting attacked by this Pathfinder, which I think came because I filled the water skin. So I guess let's go ahead and deal with the Razormane Pathfinder really quickly, where we could get a Razormane Backstabber from him, so that would help out our questing a little bit there, but I don't really expect us to get it on the first job, but maybe we did not get it. But let's go ahead, come back up here, and we can turn this in, and then we can get step, would be step 3 of our journey, or step 4, I guess. So let's turn this in, complete this, and then fill the empty red water skin at the well in Tauren Mill, and then return here. So we have to run all the way back here from Tauren Mill, which, if you have not heard of that name in this Let's Play series, you may recognize it from our human Let's Play series, because that is an undead town in the Eastern Kingdoms, where we have to run here to where this like golden question mark is. So let's go ahead and continue on with our journeys here, where we are about to do something really exciting, and it's going to take us a little bit in order to kind of like get through this next part of the series or episode, because I want to explore a lot of the stuff on the way to Tauren Mill. But first we have to return to Orgrimmar, because we have to catch a Zeppelin to get to the Eastern Kingdoms. So let's go ahead and get there. Where now that we have arrived at Orgrimmar, we can head over towards Blade Fist Bay, where we have this Zeppelin tower here, where we can see one Zeppelin going off in the distance and heading to its destination, which is not the destination that we are going to. That Zeppelin heads to Stranglethorn Vale, to Gromgo Outpost, I believe is the name of the fortification fortress thingy, but we are not going on that Zeppelin. We are going on the other one that is going to take us to Brill and the Undercity. So let's go ahead and wait here with these 2 taurens and this gnome of some race. An undead priest transformed into a gnome, where of course I believe this is the first time that we are ever taking a Zeppelin in this Let's Play series, or any of my World of Warcraft Let's Play series, where I have taken mini boats on my human mage playthrough, which is basically the counterpart to the Zeppelin, and then of course there is like the boat between Booty Bay and Ratchet that we could take as like a neutral boat. But for the most part, boats are a human thing and Zeppelins are a horde thing, where the goblins basically are like selling their services as like the merchants they are, to allow us to transport from Orgrimmar to different places of the world, where this Zeppelin goes to Brill, and then there's a Zeppelin that goes to Stranglethorn Vale. In both of those places, there's a Zeppelin that goes to the other place and then to Orgrimmar as well. So it's a nice like triangular network where you can get to any of these 3 locations from any of the other 2 locations, or however the technical wording is. But we can see that the Zeppelin is coming in now, flying over the bay and onto land, and then when it docks, we can go ahead and hop onto it. Here it is. And then let's go ahead and take a moment to explore, where a lot of people like to come up here because you have to make a little bit of a jump to get up here. And then the deck is pretty basic, and we can come down here into the lower levels where we have like a special hidden room right here, and then we can come out on to the back here to like a little balcony area where the whatever thingy is, and then we can see behind the Zeppelin, but most of the time I just hang out on the top. And then in future versions of World of Warcraft, at least starting in the Wrath of Lich King expansion, both the boats and the Zeppelins of the world get NPCs on them and like different merchants and stuff. So there's like a general goods vendor and like a trades good vendor and like a repair person, so you can like kind of like manage your inventory while you're flying across the world, which is very nice. And then also in like the Wrath of Lich King expansion, there's like new boats and new Zeppelins that take you to like the new expansion content. And then there's also a new Zeppelin that goes from Orgrimmar to Thunderbluff that I believe was added in Wrath of Lich King, which is nice, so people don't have to make the Barrens trip to get to from one city to the other. But now that we have waited long enough, and we can see another Zeppelin coming in right now, and we are here on this Zeppelin, and we can go ahead and set off into the distance, where for this entire Let's Play series we have been on the continent of Kalimdor, and I have mostly am wanting to stick to the continent of Kalimdor in this Let's Play series, since I spent most of my time in the last one in the Eastern Kingdoms, but of course we will be exploring some stuff in the Eastern Kingdoms as well, because there is definitely quite a bit of stuff that I want to explore from the perspective of a horde character, where the first thing that I want to do is the first like 3 zones in the Eastern Kingdoms for horde players, which of course we have Terrasfall Glades, and then we have the Silverpine Forest, and then we have the Hillsbrad Foothills, where we are going to start in the Terrasfall Glades. As you can see on our map here, we are going from Orgrimmar all the way over here towards the Undercity, which is built underneath the ruins of Capital City, which was the capital of the Kingdom of Lordaeron before its destruction in Warcraft 3. And we're going to be running all throughout these areas, but I'm going to mostly talk about Lordaeron, like I said, in the future. But we are currently flying over the Terrasfall Glades, and you can see some different low-level monsters down there, because of course this is like a level 1 to level 10/12 zone that undead players start at. But we could have come here and done quests at like, you know, whenever we wanted. Starting at level 1, we could have come to the undead starting area and have done all those quests, or come at like level 8 and kind of pad out our experience a little bit. But we can arrive here at this Zeppelin Tower, which is a different looking Zeppelin Tower compared to the one that we were at earlier, but it is still functional just like the one we had earlier. And we have now landed in the Terrasfall Glades, where we can go ahead and head into the town of Brill really quickly, where I'm just going to go ahead and pick up a quest that's going to take us towards the Silverpine Forest, since we're going that ways anyways, and it's only like 100 experience, but you know, I might as well complete it. It might be a little bit of silver, just pads out our experience a little bit. But this is what Brill looks like, decorated for the Feast of Wintervale, where we have the tree and a bunch of lights set up. So let's come into here. We can go ahead and talk to Johan, I believe, to get delivery to Silverpine Forest. So let's take this, and that's just going to be on our way, where we have 2 quests to go to the Silverpine Forest already, to the town of the Sepulchre, and we can go ahead and complete all those quests. But first, I want to head into the Undercity, which of course was built in like the sewer system underneath the capital city of Lordaeron. And this is a very, 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 very important location in lore, especially for Warcraft 3, where during the first like campaign for Warcraft 3, the human campaign, it basically ends with like the beginning destructions of Lordaeron, with the, I guess, assassination of King Tyrannus Menethil by his own son Arthas Menethil, who became the Lich King and who became a fan favorite character in Warcraft and is one of my favorite villains in the entire franchise. But that, of course, went alongside a cinematic that I'll throw down in the description if you want to watch it. But I'm just going to walk through here because of a very cool thing that exists where the cinematic plays a little bit here in the Undercity. So let me change my audio settings a little bit and then we can listen to this. So a very cool Easter egg that is part of a very cool story, and we have here lies King Tyrannus Menethil II, last true king of Lordaeron. Great were his deeds, long was his reign, unthinkable was his death. May the father lie blameless for the deeds of the son, may the blooded crown stay lost and forgotten. Where the blooded crown staying lost and forgotten is a really interesting idea because it might not necessarily be lost or forgotten. And that might be something we talk about in the future a little bit. But let's go ahead and head down into the Undercity where we have these elevators right here, which are a death trap because they tend to be a little buggy and people tend to like die, especially with what I was kind of trying to do right there to get onto the elevator at the last second and to get down into the Undercity where like I can get through the door, but then it starts falling before I like get onto the elevator, so then it like just falls down and then like I fall to my death and die, and it is just a death trap on hardcore servers where you only have one life. But we are here in the Undercity and I'm not going to explore too much, but it's nice and decorated for the Feast of Winterveil. I mostly just wanted to come here to talk to the Bat Handler where we now have one flight path in the Eastern Kingdoms and we can go ahead and get more in the future. So let's go ahead and head back up towards the surface where we can leave the Undercity and Lordaeron and start heading towards Silver Pine Forest, where we can see that the ruins of Lordaeron are here on our left, and we are leaving it as we are leaving the Terrasfall Glades and heading into the Silver Pine Forest, where we can see kind of just like how it is in Kalimdor. These two zones are kind of similar, but you can tell that they are very distinct and completely different looking zones from one another, but also similar in vibes, where it's both kind of like classical fantasy woody forests, but with a twist of it being surrounded by like death, and it's like a destroyed forest that has been tortured, which is a very interesting concept for us as shamans because we know from the Warcraft 3 campaign that night elves arrived here in the Silver Pine Forest for a moment, and they were basically trying to heal the forest as they were passing through, and they weren't the most successful in their endeavors, and we can see a lot of these trees look very sickly, which is very unfortunate, but also really fits the vibes of this area of the world, being a destroyed kingdom that was ravaged by a plague of undeath, where most of the civilians around here and all the different life forms and whatnot became plagued and died and were transformed into undead, where there are some various other creatures around here as well, but we can see like some undead Ravenclaw slaves over there, and you might have seen some people riding on a bat, which of course a bat is the Eastern Kingdom's horde flying like mount that you can ride on with a flight master flight path, which is the alternative to the wyvern in like Kalimdor. And then of course there's like some wyverns here in the Eastern Kingdoms as well, because there are some like orc strongholds where the bats are mostly at like undead strongholds. where we have now made it far enough into the Silver Pine Forest where we can come down this road that is going to lead us to the Sepulchre, where I think when I was like a kid I always called this place the Sepulchre, and then I learned how to pronounce the word Sepulchre, which I'm sure there are a lot of words that are like that right now where I don't know how to pronounce them because I'm not the best at pronouncing different words, and that's a really like problematic situation to be in when you love fantasy games as much as I do. But alas, here we are at the Sepulchre, where we can go ahead, come over here and talk to this bat handler, and we can get this flight path, and then we have some different things that we can do around here really quickly, where we have one quest where basically this undead in Thunderbluff, her husband died, and she does not like her husband at all because of some sort of like situation that's going on, where I can come into here really quickly, until death do us part. And she says that the light was the most important thing in his life, and that he was basically kind of like consumed by that ideology and like did not take care of her or their children at all. And she just wants us to return this pendant here to place upon the grave so she can like kind of forget about that entire situation that has happened in her life. Where we have Mira Rune Totem right here, where we can go ahead and give her some of the snapper or snapjaw shell samples that we have for her to like basically investigate. And I don't need anything from here. And then we have another quest to talk to the apothecary here, where we have another quest that we can pick up that is going to take us to the Hillsbrad Foothills. So let's go ahead and complete delivery to Silver Pine Forest, and then complete a journey to Hillsbrad Foothills. And those two quests are part of an overlapping chain that we can talk more about when we play on an undead character a little bit here in this area of the world. And it is a very interesting chain that we can go through, but that is all that I'm going to explore for right now, where we can go ahead and leave the Sepulchre and the Silver Pine Forest and head towards Hillsbrad Foothills, where we have the next chunk of adventuring that we have to do, where basically we have to get here for the cold water to fill the red water skin, and then there is a couple of other things that I want to do while we are here. There are some mages of Lordaeron that we have to be careful of, where some of them patrol along the road here, where yes, of course, Lordaeron is located here at the foothills of the Otrak Mountains on the other side of Lordaeron Lake, and Lordaeron as a kingdom has a few towns and encampments here in the Silver Pine Forest that we need to be careful of, like those two right there. Where Lordaeron is a really fun location because it became a capital city floating high above Northrend in the Wrath Lich King expansion, the second expansion for World of Warcraft, but it's located here in Classic WoW under a magical shield, so you can't really see the city until the Wrath Lich King expansion, where it's now like a giant crater. But all the Lordaeron mages are located around here, and it's kind of interesting where we as Horde can fight them, and then we're friends with Lordaeron in the future. And then there's a very like rough history with like the Kirin Tor and like the mages of Lordaeron between like the Horde and them, where like we fight them and we're friends, and then we're like enemies again, and then we're friends again. But anyways, we are here in Hillsbrad Foothills, where we are at South Point Tower, and we can pick up this quest to go to Tauren Mill, which means we have 3 quests to turn in here, I think. So let's go ahead and follow the road into the Hillsbrad Foothills, where on our human mage we spent a lot of time in this zone, exploring this zone and doing quests in this zone. But as an alliance character, it is kind of like a level 30 to like 35-ish zone, 33-ish zone, whereas a horde character, it is like level 20 to like level 32-ish. And then of course the outposts around here lead you into the Otrak Mountains as well, which are a bit of a higher level zone, like level 30 to 40, level 35 to 40, something along those lines. But the Alliance have several outposts all along the Hillsbrad Foothills, where there is one town here where there are a bunch of humans that are just living their life, farming, and absolutely nothing horrible would ever happen to any of them. Like, there are definitely not quests where the Horde come here and exterminate them and like poison them and stuff like that, which might be something we explore in the future, potentially. But let's go ahead, follow along the road to Tauren Mill. where when we look at the PvP event in the Season of Discovery, it is located in Ashenvale, and I think that is a phenomenal location for a level 25 PvP event between the Alliance and the Horde, but I think Hillsbrad Foothills could have been another good spot. But the biggest problem is that Alliance don't really come here until like level 30 for questing and stuff like that, so it's kind of a weird trip for them to make, especially since it's like so far away from any of their other settlements, so the Horde would be at a little bit of an advantage, but I think for the most part it wouldn't be that big of an issue. But of course this area has a very huge history with PvP or open world PvP specifically going on in the zone, with skirmishes between players from Tauren Mill and then players from South Shore fighting each other, basically ranging from like small battles across the Hillsbrad Foothills to like full-on sieges of one of the cities and defenses of like one of the cities. And that's like a very large piece of World of Warcraft history that was fun, and I think that could be a fun opportunity for Blizzard to explore the future when it comes to like a future season with PvP events. But let's go ahead and continue down the road here, where we are now at Tauren Mill, where we can take this offshoot where this signpost here has a ton of signs leading to different locations like South Shore, Hillsbrad, Durnhold Keep, Strongbrad, Altrak City, Altrak Mountains, and then Tauren Mill. So let's go ahead and run into this town, where we have the flight master right here that we can go ahead and unlock this flight path. And then I guess we could take a moment to look at the map as a whole to see everything that we have unlocked, where we are here at Tauren Mill and we can fly to the Undercity or we can fly to the Sepulchre. But I am going to go ahead and spend some time here in the Hillsbrad Foothills, where I can go ahead, turn in this quest, and then I am not going to do that quest right now, and I'm not going to do this quest, but we have a quest to turn in here, or two quests actually. So let's go ahead and turn these in, and I can go ahead and pick up these new quests, where we have to get Blood of the Innocents for our quest for Stonetown Mountains, and then we have two elixir quests here, where basically the undead are making poisons, and I don't know how I really feel about that from an ethical standpoint, but I think experience beats all in this situation right now. But there is a really cool question that I want to do that is going to have us working with the orcs here, where of course we talked a lot about, I think it was in episode 2, about the internment camps and basically how like the orcs were interned there, and like Thrall basically like broke out of the camps and freed a bunch of orcs, and then they rallied and then they fled to Kalimdor aboard human ships, and Thrall was held at Durnhold Keep, which is right here, and there are still a couple orcs held prisoner there that we can free. And there are a bunch of syndicate around there, which is like a faction of evil humans that are kind of being controlled by like demon worshippers that we talked a lot about in our Human Mage Let's Play series, that we can go ahead and kill, because there is a quest somewhere around here that we can pick up that is going to have us fighting them, where we need this wanted poster right here, and then we can complete those two quests, where I need to go over there for the Blood of the Innocents, and then I guess really quickly I need to find right here, we can go ahead and fill this red water skin with a water sample from Tauren Mill, and we have completed that, so we can return to the Barrens and we can go to the Southern Barrens and turn in this quest. But I think I'm going to stick around here for a little bit, like I've said, and let's just complete a bunch of quests and get a lot of experience, and let's talk a little bit about the lore before we continue our Call of Water quest. Where as we explore Lordaeron here, I want to go ahead and talk a bit about the lore and story of the Forsaken, where the undead are the fourth member of the Horde alongside the taurens, the trolls, and the orcs, where I kind of just want to talk a bit about who they are and basically how they joined the Horde, and we can talk more about them when we explore Lordaeron more in depth on an undead character in the future. But when the Lich King's grasp on his vast armies faltered after the Third War, a contingent of undead broke free of their master's iron will. Although this freedom seemed to be a blessing at first, these former humans were soon tormented by memories of the unspeakable horrors that they had committed as mindless scourge agents. Those who did not descend into madness were faced with a chilling realization: the entirety of Azeroth sought their destruction. In their darkest hour, the renegade undead were rallied together by the former Ranger General of Quothalas, Sylvanas Windrunner, defeated during an attack on her kingdom and transformed into a powerful scourge banshee. Sylvanas had also regained her freedom from the Lich King. Under their new queen's guidance, the independent undead known as Forsaken established the Undercity beneath the ruins of Lordaeron's capital. While some Forsaken feared Sylvanas, others valued the security she provided. Many of the free-willed undead, however, found a purpose to their cursed existence through the Banshee Queen's burning desire to destroy the Lich King. Despite not being afflicted with a scourge, the Forsaken came under threat from humans who were dedicated to eradicating all undead. Sylvanas worked to ensure that the damned, such as herself, would have a home free from threats by the living, as a means to further her own goals and protect her budding nation. Sylvanas sent emissaries to various factions in search of allies. To that end, she sent ambassadors to both the Alliance and the Horde. Her emissaries to the Alliance never returned. Sylvanas suspected that they hadn't survived long enough even to make it past the gates of Stormwind City. At the time, the humans were generally unaware of the Forsaken's existence and of their split from the Scourge. On the other side of the world, the kind-hearted tauren of Thunderbluff proved to be the most promising contact. Specifically, Archdruid Rune Totem saw the potential for redemption in Sylvanas' people, even though he was fully aware of the Forsaken's sinister nature. Knowing that no human agency would ever give them shelter or aid against the Scourge, now, their hated enemy, they eventually turned to the Horde, based across the sea in the distant land of Kalimdor, for assistance. To convince the Horde to accept the Forsaken into its alliance, the undead ambassadors claimed they merely sought a cure for their degenerative condition, which they said only the powers of shamanism and the life-giving energies of the earth could provide. In exchange for this healing aid, the Forsaken vowed to support the Horde in all of its ventures throughout Lordaeron and Azeroth. Magatha Grim Totem also claimed she merely wanted to aid the Forsaken in their quest to finding a path back to being human, and was thus one of the prominent proponents for the alliance between the tauren and the Forsaken. Having done battle with the undead on many occasions, Orc War Chief Thrall and Tauren Chieftain Cairn Bloodhoof of the Horde were immediately suspicious of the Forsaken's motives. However, due to growing political tensions, the warriors acquiesced to the Council of Sages, known as the Earthen Ring. The council argued that it was the Horde's duty to aid the Forsaken, who wrestled with inner demons, just as the Orcs had for generations. Thus, the Tauren convinced War Chief Thrall, despite his misgivings, to forge an alliance of convenience between the Forsaken and the Horde. In the end, the Forsaken's chances of victory against the Lich King were bolstered, while the Horde gained an invaluable foothold in the Eastern Kingdoms. Though Thrall and Cairn secretly suspect the worst, it remains to be seen what Sylvanas and her fanatical Forsaken have planned. As the primary Horde force in the Eastern Kingdoms, the Forsaken went about dealing with a number of their surrounding enemies. New free-willed undead freed by Lady Sylvanas were inducted into the Forsaken's ranks and assisted their new and old people in the tasks set before them within Terrasfall Glades. For years, this blighted area had been home to Queen Sylvanas and her Forsaken, as well as the remaining vestiges of the Scarlet Crusade. Their zealots, bent on wiping out any and all undead from Azeroth, regardless of affiliation, have long been a thorn in the Forsaken side. Recently, the Argent Dawn had offered assistance to Sylvanas' people against the Crusaders' constant harassment in eastern Terrasfall Glades. In addition, the Forsaken have begun a fresh march on their enemy stronghold, the Scarlet Monastery, in an effort to finally secure the homeland from external threats. Concurrent with securing the immediate regions pertaining to Lordaeron, the Forsaken turned their attention to numerous conflicts neighboring their kingdom. The humans and dwarves of the Alliance, the perennial enemy of their Horde allies, remained at large on the continent. The Forsaken launched several offensives against their new enemies, resulting in the conflict for resources in the Arathi Highlands, which the Defilers were tasked with securing, and a number of conflicts around Hillsbrad Foothills, Altrak Mountains, and the Plaguelands arose. Furthermore, the Forsaken began research into a certain form of plague that could be used against the Scourge and ostensibly the living. The Royal Apothecary Society rose to meet this goal and has been conducting a number of low-key experiments ever since. Nathanos Blackcollar, the champion of the Forsaken, was liberated by Lady Sylvanas herself from the Scourge. After they had proved themselves to the Queen, the Blackcollar tasked Forsaken members with killing the beast that had taken his life. Retrieving a document pertaining to both his and the Banshee Queen's time as living comrades from a lodge of exiled elves, and assaulting the Scarlet Crusade's primary power base in Lordaeron. where I think the Forsaken and the Undead are really interesting allies to the Horde and a very interesting choice as a race in World of Warcraft, where they make a lot of sense as being members of the Horde, but they also don't make a lot of sense as well, where over time, over the years, people have talked about potential different factions that could have existed in World of Warcraft. Where of course we have the Horde and the Alliance. Each faction has 4 races to their name, but a lot of people have different fan theories about like different factions that could exist. Where one idea that I see thrown around every now and then is instead of having 2 factions, we have 4 factions that kind of mimic Warcraft 3. Where for people who don't know, Warcraft 3 had the Alliance, the Horde, the Undead of the Scourge, and then the Sentinels or the Night Elves. Where one idea that has floated around is having a faction of the Alliance where we have the humans, dwarves, and gnomes, and then the Night Elves aren't a member of the faction, and then we have the faction of the Horde that have the Orc, Troll, and Taurens, but no Undead, where we then see a Forsaken faction with undead humans, undead high elves, and undead dwarves, or undead many other races that could be added into here. And then a Night Elf faction or Sentinels faction that has Night Elves, and then Keepers / Dryads, and then some sort of third race that the Night Elves can have, such as the Ancients, or maybe like Redeemed Satyrs or Redeemed Naga or something like that. But of course, we have the 2 factions of the Alliance and the Horde in vanilla World of Warcraft, which are both really, really cool. And as we kind of look down the history of retail World of Warcraft, people have different opinions about the factions of the game, where there seems to be kind of a big push towards having no more factions in modern day World of Warcraft, which would make a little bit of sense given like kind of recent writing, and could make a lot of sense depending on how the game is written into the future. And then it seems to be kind of a change that a lot of people want in modern day World of Warcraft, but the 2 factions are a very important part of the classic historical version of World of Warcraft. Where we have returned to the Sepulchre, where it is still the Feast of the Winter Veil, but it is currently the 28th of December, which means there is only a couple of days left until the Feast of Winter Veil ends as the new year comes upon us. And I went under the tree in Orgrimmar and picked up my presents, some of which we have in our inventory here, and some of which I threw into my bank, and it's just kind of like a fun thing that goes on. And we successfully sold one of the presents we got for 79 silver, which is nice. But we can go ahead and now continue on with our Call of Water quest chain, where we are now going to go to the western coast of Silverpine Forest, and I believe there is like a small way to get back this way. I'm not entirely sure if there is. It looks like there is, and we can basically just come over the mountains here and we can drop down to this area without having to run all the way north or south to one of these areas. So this is kind of a nice shortcut, but we just have to be careful that we don't die here. And then basically we are going to have to fight a boss at North Tides Run here, where we have our Water Sapta, and we have a trail right here, Tuve Mordoon, or however you want to pronounce that name, but we have the Brazier of Everfount, Everfount, which if we come into our Call of Water here, we need to defeat the Corrupt Manifestation of Water and place the Corrupt Manifestation's bracers along with the remaining drops of Purest Water on the Brazier of Everfount and Silverpine Forest. So if we come into here, this will allow us to see the elemental spirits, and then this will allow us to defeat the mob here. And I believe if we use this and die, we have to go all the way back to the Barrens and get a new one, because this is a unique item, and then we have to combine the item we get from here. So let's go ahead and prepare for battle here, where we have a Wand of Holiday Cheer, which I don't think really does anything, just makes us laugh. And then we have a Mechanical Grinch, which is a really, really funny item, because we talked last episode about Black Fathom Deeps, and basically people are using this to deal a ton of damage and to basically kill like the second to last boss like super easily, because the second to last boss has like a big DPS check, but it only has 3 charges and lasts for 7 days, so people have been taking advantage of that, which is funny. But I think we can go ahead and use this against the boss here. I'm buffed up, I have the Grinch ready to go, so let's go ahead and use the Water Sapta, and we have to be a little bit closer to here, I think. If we come here, this will spawn all of them, and then we have the Corrupt Minor Manifestation of Water, which I don't think this is going to be a really challenging fight, but let's go ahead and summon the Grinch, and then let's start attacking this enemy, where hopefully our Grinch will help us out here, and there he goes. So it looks like we're just going to obliterate this Manifestation of Water, because the Grinch deals a ton of damage, and now we can go ahead and combine these 2 items upon the Brazier, and then we can speak to the Minor Manifestation of Water located, I believe it's going to appear in the center here, as you see some sort of ritual occurring where the waters of Lordaeron here seem to be cleansed a little bit from our actions here. So we have this quest over here where I think we can get another water septa maybe. Let's go ahead and come over here really quickly because this appeared. So let's go ahead and chat with this manifestation of water where we can complete this quest, and now we can bring the shard of water to Iceland Water Seer in the Barrens. So we have the healing stream totem that we can get, and then we have the water totem, which is one of our totems that go into our inventory here. And then we have this quest over here, so let's go ahead and double check this really quickly, which just might give us a rune, it looks like, because it's not appearing on Questy. So bring a water scepter to Tiev, Mordoon, and Silverpine Forest if you fail to speak to the minor manifestation of water. It looks like this isn't anything to do with anything that we need to do. I think it's just in case we like messed up or something. But let's go ahead and Hearthstone back to the crossroads, because I believe we are done in Lordaeron for now, and we will return in the future, but probably not for quite some time from when I release this video. And let's return to Iceland Water Seer. We're here is Iceland Water Seer, and we can turn in the Call of Water, where we are currently level 24, and we picked up this quest at level 20. So it is a little bit of a long time coming now, but we have completed this, which means we can now summon water totems. So we have this poison cleansing totem that I currently have on my action bar, and if we come into the restoration panel here, we can get healing stream totem, which I think is a little bit better, and we can basically summon these, and this is what this looks like. And then we can summon another one, and it looks exactly the same. Each of the totems look a little bit different than the other ones, but of course the water totems are kind of like a defensive, supportive, like healing type of totems, where the healing stream totem will basically heal everyone around the totem by a little bit every couple of seconds, and then the poison cleansing totem will do the same thing, but instead of healing, it will cure poison, which is very nice. And very quickly before we end this episode, I want to come back into the inn at Ratchet, because I believe that we have unlocked the quest that we can do in order to get our dual wield specialization rune, where if we talk to Grisby here, we can basically talk to him about him having a little bit of a business proposal, and you can ask what he has in mind, and he basically needs a bunch of supplies, where we can now bring him 24 fish oil, we can bring him 20 dark iron ordnance, which requires us to kill elite dark iron dwarves in the wetlands. If you remember all the way back to an early episode of my Human Mage Let's Play series, there are elite dark iron dwarves that are like level 28, 29, so you basically need to gather a group of friends in order to kill them, or be like very cautious about how you are pulling the mobs, and then kill a bunch of them. And then shredder turbochargers, which is the thing in the Wind Sheer Crag, where basically you have to get a special engineering item off the auction house or be an engineer to make them, and then you have to basically get these salvaged items from the shredders there. So it is a little bit of a long journey, but there have been hints that they will change this quest when the next level band releases of Phase 2 of Season of Discovery, where some of the more difficult runes to get into this current phase of the game are going to become a little bit easier and faster to get, and basically more solo friendly, I believe, where there will be newer stuff with the more difficult runes that you'll have to get as they add 12 new runes, I believe, and the next level band. But that is going to be way down the line from now, where it is looking to be several weeks until the next phase comes out, which is something that I am happy with. But I think we have about one more episode left in this phase of the Season of Discovery, and as far as this episode goes, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it good here, where I hope you enjoyed watching my journeys through most of the early zones in Lordaeron, and I hope y'all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Azeroth. Goodbye.